Beneath every YouTube video, there is a line of text that tells the viewer one simple thing: how old the video is that they're about to watch. It means more than it does at first glance. If you're like me, I associate important life events with when certain YouTube videos are uploaded. And watching that number go up on my favorite YouTube videos helps me keep up with the passage of time. In a broader sense, time affects how we relate to the content we consume and understand it, and it also affects how we understand ourselves. And for those of us who grew up alongside our favorite content creators, time forces us to ponder how powerful of an agent of change it is. There's a lot for me to say for this one, so let's talk about it.
So yeah, if you find a volume 2, collected these tracks from about a 2-year span of creating. Didn't know they'd end up on a project, but it all seemed to glue together.
In previous videos I've made, I've talked about the incredible impact certain videos have had on my identity and personality. What I haven't touched on is how the videos I encountered as a very young child have continued to impact me to this day. Of course, I'm not in elementary school anymore, but it can be so informative to see how the videos that we encounter while we're young still have an effect and influence on us when we're older. It's further than the simple observation that what we consume influences us. I'll go as far as to say that the videos that we attach to as young kids become an inseparable part of our life stories. Before I get into the first video that I chose as my very own, I want to take a quick survey of the audience. How many of you had overprotective parents that tried to shelter you from outside influences? Mine certainly did, and I think it's smart to do, but I don't think it's okay to outright hide kids from the internet. And that's in spite of my previous points. Everything that we encounter while we're young for the first time has a tremendous effect on us and becomes something that we can't forget or remove from our identities, just like the first time we try a new food or go see a new place for the first time. To illuminate my perspective on this matter, I'm going to talk about my perspective in relation to the first video I ever got attached to, and that will be Levels by Avicii. I found this video when I was a second grader, and I still remember watching it on an ivory gray Windows XP computer that I got as a hand-me-down from my grandfather. I fell in love with it for a number of reasons. It was the first EDM song I ever heard. I loved the music video, and it also gave me this first taste and sense of identity. To be more precise, picking Avicii was the first time I ever exercised my ability to have free will and made me aware of my own personhood. As kids, we're usually mimicking our parents with our viewpoints, personalities, and tastes. And no one in my family likes EDM. So finding this song made me realize that my personality is separate from that of my parents, and that I can choose who I want to be and what I like the most. All the while, this video does hold a power over me. Not in a good way, but also not in a bad way. Rather, as the first time I ever exercised free will, and the gateway that led me to developing a key part of my personality, and that is liking EDM. Now, it might seem odd to give this much weight to a YouTube video. Maybe it's laughable to make it comparable to something like to meeting a best friend for the first time or even a first kiss. But I have to meet my past up front and assess it for what it is. It is because of these unique and specific circumstances that allows a YouTube video to have this much significance over my life. In a sense, with the right circumstances in place, any piece of media can become of such lofty importance to someone. Let me read a poem from this book. In his every moment, a man of great virtue follows the way and the way only. As a thing, the way is shadowy, indistinct. Now, like I've said many times, my primary interest online would be in commentary. It's a broad term, but it encapsulates a variety of content creators and themes. I've been in this community since I was 12 years old, and I'm 21 now, and it's a testament to the strength of this community to see how little it's changed in almost a decade. We went from gameplay videos, content cops, and diss tracks to long-form content and podcasts. Even still, the underlying substance of the commentary community is, in my view, unchanged. No matter how much the form and manner of expression changes, the people and matter of their identities doesn't. Furthermore, these deeper substances, they encapsulate the changing forms of commentary in their entirety. And in my view, that's really why we still refer to commentary with the same name as we did a decade ago, and its meaning hasn't changed at all. But of course, the passage of time and its effects are evidenced by this changing in form. In addition to this, everyone who is both a leader and a consumer in the commentary community ages at the same amount of time. Our ages in relation to how old we are to one another, that never changes. And that, in my view, is a binding agent. It's one thing in this community that's constantly changing. When it constantly changes its form, that's staying static. Now, in my opinion, no one who was my age when I started first watching commentary is watching content similar to what this community is about. And I think that the age group that first discovered this, despite new people coming in and out and at different ages and variances within that, it is all the same block of people moving across time at the same pace. It is time, circumstance, and the unique individuals who make content and lead this community that make it what it is, and it couldn't be this way if it was any other way. But what authority do I have to even have an opinion on what makes this community tick? I don't know if what I'm saying really has any value, to be honest, but this is what it means to me. So a good example of this, to put it in more concrete terms, would be to look at podcasts I listen to of content creators I've been watching for a while. And one podcast I listen to a lot is To Be Honest, with Dolan, Colossal, Crazy, and Pyrocynical. Now, of course, like many of us, I've gotten used to the PG-ification of YouTube in the past few years. It's really hard to find content that is truly edgy and coarse these days. And if you do, it's likely outside of YouTube. And even though I consider my tastes and personality fairly R-rated, when I hear content that is truly edgy, it's jarring and shocking to me. Now, as for the To Be Honest podcast, I typically watch it on YouTube and Spotify, and it always has the same intro and intro formats with the same people. But recently, I subscribed to their Patreon and listened to the first bits of their Patreon-only exclusive episodes, and what I heard surprised me.
What's up, faggots, and welcome back to another exclusive Patreon episode
for the To Be Honest podcast. I'm your host, Colossal is Crazy, as different podcasts. I don't know what I'm doing. Brain is loopy.
Just keep going.
I'm here with Dolan and pyrocynical, and also Ryan Kinder, who's going to say nothing.
Now, hearing these words, you wouldn't hear this on a regular YouTube video. This is more characteristic of what the community was like about a decade ago. And I don't think that like, in order to be authentic, you need to be saying slurs. And I honestly don't have a stance as to whether the presence or absence of this kind of edginess is good or bad. I think it's representative of how, in spite of the many structural and policy changes to YouTube and other social media platforms, no matter how much this might change the content they publish on those sites, the underlying identities of the people who make the content haven't really changed at all. Really, they've just altered very carefully how they express different aspects of their personality. I think it's important to acknowledge people for who they are, and above all else, authenticity is a greater good than any kind of algorithmic approval or a paycheck. All right. I'm going to try to walk out onto the ice here. It's like ice skating, but without traction. Here. You play like a little miniature hockey game right here. It's cool. All right. I'm on top of my car here. A little cramped. Okay, so to stay on the topic of time, I want to do a hypothetical thought exploration on what certain videos, and the site in general, will look like in the far future. Now, YouTube has been a site for about 19 years now, and its oldest videos to us are considered to be classics. Although YouTube videos are considered to be in other contexts quite new, and especially in comparison to other forms of media like music and TV. Okay, so I want you to stop and imagine something. Think about a few of your favorite classic internet works, and hold in your head, think about how it would feel to see these videos, these same videos, hundreds of years in the future from now. How would this change each video's meaning? It's hard for me to figure out what answer is appropriate for this question. And for one thing, a core feature of the internet is its recency. Without this feature, is it really supposed to be thought of as the internet? For one thing, the internet would be so much different in both form and substance than what it is now. None of us would be alive. And it would be so old that the videos that we watch and make now would, in comparison to current technological developments and content that's made, look like antique artifacts that belong in a museum. The passage of this much time is inevitable, yet paradoxical. I think that from another angle, this much time would remove much of the lightheartedness and irony from the videos. Think about like videos that are poorly put together, poorly scripted, poorly edited, but are viral because they're just great videos as they are, and the irony and all the jokes and stuff. I think that the meaning of it would change after enough time had passed. It's hard to think of an antique piece of media that's really old in that fashion as well. And its effect would instead be looked at from a distance. It wouldn't be thought of as having the effect of being ironic and causing a reaction now, but that reaction would be analyzed instead. Now, it might seem strange to think of YouTube in the context of this much passage of time, but it's something that will happen at one point, and it would be interesting to be alive during that time to see what it would be like. But I'm just one guy, and I can't really perfectly even get close to perfectly picturing what that would look like in the future, so I'm open to any input you can give me. All right, I'm going to read some more passages from this book. Nice little poem right here. Indistinct and shadowy, yet within it is an image. Shadowy and indistinct, yet within it is a substance. Dim and dark, yet within it is an essence. And this is something that can be tested. All right, I'm back at my house now. So, for this last little bit, I want to talk about other forms of media and how they incorporate into YouTube. Now, if there's one thing that using the internet has taught me, it's taught me that I actually use it way too much. Life and our brains move much slower than the sites that we visit, especially YouTube and Twitter and the internet in general. It's fast-paced, and if you use it too much, and it's the only form of media that you consume, your brain turns into mush, but it all starts to blend together and lose its meaning and enjoyment, like anything in life. I have learned through reading literature and watching films that these types of media inform YouTube videos, help build them, make them better, while YouTube actually does the same in return. So an example would be, growing up around these influences online, seeing characters and being invested in characters in real time who are authentic and who put themselves out there for the world to see, it helps you gain an understanding of what it means to be a human and basically the human condition. Watching people go through personal struggles, changes, watching all of these people online change as time goes on. It is a study in about how characters change as they move through life and how that gives life difference and contrast, which is something that in literature, when you go to read a book, it helps you understand the characters and life itself better. And the same goes for films. YouTube and YouTubers who make commentary, who do these types of things, they are in themselves making their own films. And the distinction between a professional film and something that is amateur and just done on their own, what is the point at which it becomes a professional grade film? And for example, take a YouTube documentary. One YouTuber I really like is Gokanaru. I love his H3H2 documentary. I still like Ethan and Hilo, but he had some valid criticisms in there. Also, his Hong Kong documentary was great too. I really like his work. It's obviously it's just him doing it, but at the same time, media is valued and it's measured by how much of an impact it has on someone. I don't think it's about production value, the number of people working on it, if it has cool effects or a bunch of teams on it, if it has famous people in it, whatever. It needs to have meaning and it needs to have an impact on someone that's big, which is what his content has done for me and what a lot of other small documentarians have done as well. Reading books, watching films helps you understand YouTube better, and in some aspects, watching YouTube helps you understand these forms of media better as well. So to finish off, I'll finish reading a passage from this poem. It serves as a means for inspecting the fathers of the multitude. How do I know what the fathers of the multitude are like? By means of this. Now, this is out of context, and it's just a passage of the poem, but I think that whether or not it's in context, the word still means something, and whatever meaning you as a viewer might come up with to draw parallels, I think it all works. This is Ken Kesey. He's one of my favorite authors. I've put clips from a movie adaptation of one of his books in, but everything is in sync and harmony and works together. Well, we're at the end here. Don't have much to say. Merry Christmas, first of all. It's uploaded around this time of the year. It's the day after I filmed most of this video, so I think it's always nice to have a conclusion at the end of really anything you do, but especially a YouTube video. Thank you to the people who watch me, who listen to me make noises out of my lips and my throat that have meaning, and somehow people take enjoyment out of it or find it relatable, and it means a lot. This year has been very traumatic for me, but I think through it all I've learned a lot, and hopefully all of us have come out through this year new and better.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this one. Probably my favourite project to date. Really showcases all the styles that have inspired me.